You are listening to the Fit Figure Formula podcast. I help female perfectionists beat self-sabotage and lose the weight for good using the Fit Figure Formula coaching program. I'm your host, Stephanie Riles, registered dietitian, personal trainer, and mindset transformation coach. If you've been struggling with all or nothing thinking, negative self-talk, or self-sabotage, this is the podcast for you. Learn how to get consistent and become the best version of yourself from the inside out. So let's get started. Hey, welcome to the Fit Figure Formula podcast. This is episode 65, I believe. So this is part 2 of healing your relationship with food. So on the previous episode, I talked about some telltale signs that you can see if you are operating in a healed fashion when it comes to your food and fitness. So if you missed that episode, make sure you go back and listen to that episode. On this episode, I'm going to be talking about things that you can do to help you heal your relationship with food and fitness. So if you listen to the previous episode and you see yourself in some of those behavior patterns, thinking patterns, number one, the Fit Figure Formula might be a great place to help you transition from this unhealed place with your food and fitness to a more secure and healed place with your food, fitness, and yourself. And you're going to get a lot out of this episode because I'm going to be going over some things that you can practice in real time starting today. So before I get into the episode, make sure that you share the episode or share one of your favorites. Again, I am going to be just talking about this a couple of times because I did a poor job celebrating my 2-year podcast anniversary. If you could rate the show on Apple Podcast or on Spotify, that would help me so much. Please consider sharing the episode to your favorite social media platform. And then again, if you're resonating with anything that I'm saying, if you like my perspective, if you want to be able to lose weight and beat self-sabotage and lose the weight for good, you can go to the show notes and check out the application process. You can also become a formula fan. So this is just a way for you to support the podcast and support me in my journey to bring you free info. It's free for you to listen, not free for me to produce. So you can become a formula fan with a low-cost subscription between like $3 and $10 a month to support the podcast. I would really appreciate it. So many options in terms of what you can do to make sure that this episode reaches as many ears as possible. All right, let's get into it. So again, on the previous episode, we talked about some telltale signs that you might be dealing with an unhealed relationship with food. Today, I'm going to talk about what you can do. So have you ever felt like food is the enemy? Or have you ever been scared to eat or eat out or eat a certain thing? Have you been operating around a set of rules of what to do and what not to do? Do you have this cycle of fear or shame or judgment or punishment around what you are eating? If so, you are not alone. A lot of my clients have come to me before. They have done all the things. They have counted the points. They have done the little portion cups, and they either lost weight and gained it back or didn't lose any. And they're just like, okay, what do I do to make this stick? I feel like every time I eat a cookie, I gain 5 pounds. And so today I'm going to walk you through exactly how to start healing your relationship with food and fitness so that you can finally feel free, confident, and in control without obsession or without guilt. Okay. So one of the things that you can start with is releasing the labels. So first, we've got to stop labeling food as good or bad. Okay. We have to think about it. We can't think of an apple as good or holier than thou, and then a piece of cake as evil or bad or something like that. We have to really think food is food. Okay. Some foods are going to give me quick energy. Some foods are going to help me feel satisfied for longer. Some foods are simply delicious and they bring me joy. And I am going to take out the emotion from food, right? I'm going to take away the labels. And when we take away the labels, you'll take away the shame. When you stop labeling food as good or bad, then it's neutral. Now it's just food. And now I don't feel guilty or shame or judgment when I eat a cupcake or a piece of pizza or have a scoop of ice cream because it's not good or bad. It's just food, right? This again is why inside the Fit Figure formula, when you work with me, you are going to learn more about your food. You're going to understand it so that you can see that, oh, just because I had ice cream today, that doesn't mean I ruined everything. It's going to give you so much more freedom, so much more confidence. So taking the labels off of food. So notice when you're talking about your food, notice when you're talking about what you ate and you're saying, oh, I ate so bad over the weekend, or I've been eating good all week. Stop in your tracks when you say that and notice, here's a label. What if I didn't have to think about my food in that way? If I took off the label and now it's neutral, I get to take out the emotion and I get to say, okay, did what I have this weekend, for example, did that help me reach my goal, or did it help me to progress towards my goal? If not, I can get curious. If not, I can think about, well, what happened? How can I be more mindful? And you start to feel and take back your own power and your own control from what you get to decide. So simply noticing those self-sabotaging sentences of labeling food as good or bad can help. So number 2, I want you to listen to your body. So one of the fastest ways to build trust with yourself is to slow down and actually tune in. So I feel like I hear a lot of people say, oh my God, this week has been crazy. I was just coaching a client last week on this, and I started off the call like, hey, tell me about this past week. And she was like, this week has been so crazy. I've had this to do. I've had that to do. And the way that she told the story about how her week went, it sounded like she was just being dragged by the circumstances. And it's like, okay, wait. When you think about this week, I want you to recap your week, and I want you to practice telling me the story in a way that puts you in the advantage, even if you had to make some flexible choices and deviations from your original plan. How is that not a fault of the circumstance, and how did you position yourself to be flexible enough to make the choice? Because what she was doing was telling me, here's my plan, and here's all the changes that I had to make because of the circumstance, and that's why it didn't go well. And I was like, well, it sounds like it actually did. You actually did make flexible choices in the moment, but because it didn't go exactly the way you planned it, you're saying that it didn't go well, but you actually made choices that worked in the moment, and you were flexible and mindful, and you made choices, but you're telling me the story as if the circumstance ruined everything. And I'm like, no, go back and tell me that story again, but tell me how you were in control and you made flexible decisions to make things work for you. And that is taking the exact same circumstance and turning it around, and the way that you're telling your story makes you feel more in control and empowered. And then when she told the story in that way, she can see how she did have power over her choices. Right? So this is so, so important, right? So you being able to trust yourself with your decisions, trust yourself with your stories, trust yourself with how you tell your story. Slow down and tune in to your body, to your day, to your intentions, to your strategy. Just by telling your story in a more empowering way helps you to trust yourself more, because you can see how you had more control than you thought you did. Just again, that 1% shift of how you're thinking about how things went or the choices that you made, right? So tuning in, slowing down, reflecting, asking yourself questions like, am I hungry right now? Or if I made a certain decision, why did I make that decision? So for example, if I overate, asking myself, why did I overeat? Was I already hungry? Was I emotional? Was I bored? Was I just mindless? Was it just a habit to do? But then also when things go well, when you actually do, take control and you decide, hey, I'm going to pass right by this cupcake shop today and I'm not going to have it because that's just not what we're doing today. How were you able to come up with that decision? How were you able to make the right decision? Do you ever ask yourself that? A lot of times we'll overeat and we're like, oh, why did I do that? Why did I eat that? But when you resist or when you just decide like, hey, I'm not having it, do you ever ask yourself, how did I make that powerful decision? Do you ever give yourself that much credit? Do you ever think about, hey, I'm making really good choices. How am I able to create that result? Because when you do, you'll actually be able to create that result more often. I have a client right now who has told me multiple times that she is addicted to sugar and she, can't help herself. She just loves sugar. And throughout our coaching process, she has told me multiple times, yeah, I chose not to have, the cupcake, or I chose a different choice and I'm really proud of myself. And I'm like, you know what? You've told me that multiple times now. So it might be time for you to let go of this story that you're addicted to sugar and you can't help yourself around sugar, because I've heard you tell me stories multiple times that you can. And it's like, and this is my tip number 3, giving yourself permission to let go of the story that you keep telling yourself that you can't do it, that you haven't been able to do it, and that every time you try, it works for a little bit and then it stops working. Like, can you give yourself permission to let go of that story? Can you give yourself permission to count your wins and be proud of yourself for a moment? A lot of times when we actually accomplish a goal, or if we make a decision that makes ourselves feel proud, we will be like, yeah, on to the next. Okay, brush that off. What's next? Stop, pause, pat yourself on the back. Love yourself, acknowledge yourself, celebrate yourself, accept yourself. Figure out how you were able to make that great choice. Pause for a second. Stop going so fast in our day and in our week that you're not pausing to see, how do I create powerful decisions that make me feel in control, accomplished, and proud of myself. Give yourself permission to count your wins. Okay. And that's just one way you can give yourself permission. Okay. Give yourself permission to retell your story, to think about yourself differently, to let go of what I've always done. I had to coach a client on this a couple of weeks ago, where she kept saying like, well, this is what I always do. Well, what I normally do. And when you catch yourself doing that and you're trying to make a change, but you keep regurgitating what I normally do, and this is just how I've always done it, I'm like, okay, I want you to see yourself in this process when you join the Fit Figure Formula as we are splitting in two. You are becoming your 2.0 self and you're leaving behind your 1.0 self. And you're really not leaving her behind because she helped you get here, right? And we want to be in gratitude for our previous versions of ourselves. But I have to let go of the story of like, this is what I always do, because that is not what's helping you reach the goal. I have to be open and give myself permission to tell my story in a different way. I have to be open and give myself permission to do things in a different way, to think about things in a different way, to try things in a different way. Like giving yourself permission. This is such a powerful thing too that you can do, to just say to yourself or out loud, I give myself permission to let go of old habits and patterns that don't serve me. I let go. I give myself permission to let go. I give myself permission to stop overthinking. I give myself permission to stop restricting myself. I give myself permission to stop labeling my food as good or bad. I give myself permission to listen to my body and honor what I feel. I give myself permission to honor what I'm feeling. I give myself permission to feel my feelings without trying to change them and without trying to judge them. Permission. I give myself permission to do things differently and to think about myself in a different way, right? So another way that you can give yourself permission is giving yourself permission to have the cookie. What if you just had the cookie and you didn't beat yourself up about it and you didn't judge yourself for it? Takes all the power out of that cookie. So the hard truth is the more that you restrict, the more power food has over you. When you say, I can't have cookies, suddenly cookies are the only thing that you want. But if you give yourself permission to have the cookie, you'll notice that that intensity starts to fade. It's not about eating cookies all day. It's about removing the forbidden label that causes you to spiral. One of the things that I teach my clients is we're not waiting for a cheat day to have something that is more decadent or higher in fat or a treat. I'm teaching them that after you hit your goals, right? We're pre-planning our food and, after you hit your protein, and if you have some more calories left over, oh my gosh, I can have a treat. I can actually plan in the treat. And now I'm not waiting. Now cookies are not just for my treat day. Now I can have cookies. So now it's like when work brings in cookies, it's like, I had cookies. I already planned in cookies like earlier in the week. So it doesn't feel as tempting. You're like taking away all of the power, all of the polarity, all of the like, ooh, this is something forbidden. Like you're taking away all the power when you give yourself permission to have it and incorporate it throughout the week with the strategy that I teach you inside the formula. Then that takes out all of the temptation from this cookie. Okay. So we talked about releasing the labels. We talked about listening to your body. We talked about giving yourself permission, right? And there's multiple ways to give yourself permission. Number 4 is checking in with why this is important and also why you're hungry. So sometimes hunger isn't about hunger. Sometimes it's about stress. Sometimes it's about boredom. Sometimes it's about your emotions. And that's okay, right? Food can feel comforting, but when it's your only coping tool, it starts to work against you. So try asking yourself, what do I really need right now besides food? Maybe it's rest. Maybe you actually need connection. Maybe it's movement, right? So asking yourself why, again, we're slowing down to go fast. We think that we just have to go fast. We have to make decisions. We have to keep going. And we end up on a hamster wheel. But did you know if you take some pauses, some what I call powerful pauses to check in, you actually make more progress by giving yourself those check-ins, by giving yourself rest, by giving yourself the ability to kind of pause and think through things and then make some moves. You actually make more progress than feeling like you can't stop to think or check in or rest. And you keep going, and you're doing stuff, but you're not being very productive. Okay. So really checking in with your why. Why is this important to me? Why do I overeat every, weekend? Is it because I don't have a strategy? Is it because of the people that I'm hanging around? Is it because I actually need to go grocery shopping and by Saturday, like there's no food in the house, so I'm just eating out? Is it because I'm outside in the streets and maybe I need to pack a healthy snack so I can make a better choice when I get really hungry when I'm out? Like everything is figure outable and you have to check in with your why. You should have a check-in time on your calendar. It's one of my things that I help my clients through when I work with their schedule. And inside of my coaching app, it's built in. You have a check-in once a week. You need to check in with yourself. You could be doing this right now. You can go to your calendar app, or if you're using a paper planner, however you manage your life, put it on your calendar every week. Let me check in with myself. This is going to change your life. When you start checking in with yourself, this is going to change your life. It could be once a week, or it could just be every night. Every night at the end of the day, let me ask myself, what went well? What did not go well? And how can I make changes for the next day or the next week? Okay. Number 5 is rethinking fitness. So fitness should never feel like punishment, right? Exercise is not a transaction. It could be a celebration. So for me, I actually really enjoy working out. I enjoy it for how I feel when I get done. I enjoy it for the camaraderie. If you're doing a group workout, I enjoy it for my mental health. It makes me feel good. So for me, I am not going to choose, for example, things that I don't like. I would hate to run a marathon. I would absolutely hate it. So I'm not going to do that. Like I might run a 5K if it's like one of those like fun runs or has obstacle course or something like that. But just running miles and miles and miles, like if I had to make myself do that and that was like the only way you could get fit, I probably wouldn't be that fit because I don't want to do that. That feels like utter torture. So if you're doing something that feels like torture, that feels like punishment, that you dread doing multiple times a week, because you really need to, you need to be moving daily, but exercise, 3 to 4 times a week. And if that feels like punishment or torture, then how is that going to be sustainable? Girl, we got to find you a way that you can move your body that feels good. Okay. Because a lot of my clients will say, well, ooh, my watch said I burned X amount of calories. I'm like, for me as a dietitian, I'm first focused on food and I'm not so worried about like how many calories your watch says that you burned. Because again, we're getting into that like transactional, trying to burn so many calories and then you eat so many calories. And I don't operate like that. For me, it's more so like, are you moving your body, right? We want to get 7,500 steps or more per day, but you can get those steps in multiple ways. I think the easiest is probably walking. A lot of my clients enjoy walking outside, having a walking pad, but you can do Zumba. You can take a stepping class. There are so many ways that you can get your steps in or get in some movement. And maybe if you like to bike, maybe you're not getting steps, but you're getting activity by way of riding a bike or by way of swimming, right? Think about what feels good for you to do, what feels fun, and you're not feeling like you're being punished or like you're just burning a whole bunch of calories. What just feels good to do? Start there, especially if you've been stuck or if you feel like, oh, I'm not motivated to go to the gym. Start moving in a way that feels fun, that feels good. And then you can kind of ease your way into some strength training. Now, the thing about strength training is there's kind of nothing like it. And so incorporating strength training as we age is going to be very important, but that doesn't have to be the only thing that you do, right? And then when you're approaching strength training, we want to approach it by, okay, how strong am I getting? I think some people might enjoy strength training a little bit more if they track what they're doing and you can see a little chart of like, oh, I started out with these little 5-pound weights and now I'm up to 15s, right? And you can see the progression. That feels good, right? And you can see how building muscle helps your physique, right? And so when you start seeing those numbers change, when you start seeing your body change, that makes it a little bit less like punishment. So strength training is one of those things that there's nothing like it. But again, don't just do that if you really are opposed to it. Make sure that you're doing something that brings you joy. Dance, hike, walk, do something that makes you smile, right? So when you shift from punishment to joy, that consistency kind of becomes natural. A lot of you guys are not consistent because you hate what you're doing. I would be very inconsistent if I had to run miles and miles every day. I'd just be like, oh, I just don't want to do that. I'd find any reason in my brain that I can't do it today. Okay. So rethink fitness, right? This is how you can improve your relationship with yourself. And here's the thing. If right now you don't know of anything that you actually enjoy, most of us enjoy some type of dancing, even if it's just like at your house. But if you can't think of anything that you actually like doing, I want you to brainstorm. I want you to brainstorm about other things that maybe you have not tried yet and go on an adventure and try some new ways to move your body. So this alone can be really exciting, right? So for example, I just mentioned I don't like running, right? But I did join a run club and I like jog walking with this group because it's a large group of like-minded individuals and you're in community and it makes it not so bad. And it doesn't feel like punishment because I don't have to, compete or do any times or anything like that. So it could be something where you're joining a group, or it could be a run club. It could be a step class. It could be an African dance class. I went to a Zumba class one time and this lady was doing like African dance. And I was like, oh my God, like I loved the way she moved. And I was like, I have to get lessons from you. That makes me excited, right? So make sure that you're trying new things. Ask ChatGPT, give me some interesting, unique ways to move my body. And if you haven't tried one of them that sounds interesting, try it. Just try it. And you'll find something that's your thing. Or it could just be as simple as walking. But make sure that if you live in a place that has some extreme weather, that you have, a walking pad or another way to move your body in case the weather is not that great. Okay, so number 5 was rethink fitness. Number 6 is step away from the scale. So a lot of the process of healing your relationship with food or fitness is the scale is making you feel like you're doing something wrong, and then you tend to spiral. So your value is not tied to a number on the scale. You don't need the scale to tell you if you're making progress or not. You can ask yourself, do I feel more energized? Am I sleeping better? Do I have more confidence when I walk in the room? Those are real results, and those are results that last. If you keep thinking to yourself, okay, do I have more energy? Yeah, I like the fact that I have more energy, right? And so am I sleeping better? Am I having more confidence? It's so important that you don't look at the scale and say, oh my God, I'm failing. I'm doing a horrible job. Because the thing is, and we know this, but then we don't actually practice it. The scale is going to go up and down. And just because the scale says something higher this time than it did last time, it doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. It doesn't mean that you are gaining fat. It doesn't mean that you're failing. It just means that the scale went up. So we want to look at this from an objective standpoint. So I always tell my clients I need at least 3 weights to see a trend, right? But you guys are freaking out when you step on the scale one time and it pops up. That to me, as a dietitian looking at that, it means nothing. I need another weight, right? So we want to see a trend. But if you are beating yourself up, micro quitting, and spiraling after you see a high weight or a weight that you don't necessarily like, then maybe for you, stepping away from the scale and really building that relationship with yourself. So imagine that you're walking and you're moving your body in a way that feels good. You are working on your identity and your self-love. You are eating more vegetables. You're drinking more water. You're having more energy. You set a bedtime, so you're sleeping more. You're sleeping deeper. And you're feeling really good. Imagine doing that for weeks at a time. Imagine that your clothes are fitting better. Your skin is clearing up. You're less moody, right? All of those things matter. But what happens is sometimes when you step on the scale, that scale is derailing some of you from seeing the results that you want to see and from feeling better simply because you think that you're doing something wrong. And sometimes you're actually not doing anything wrong. The scale is just going to go up and down. Now, sure, do you need strategy? Do you need a certain calorie level in order to see fat loss? Absolutely. But even when clients work with me inside the Fit Figure formula, I don't give them their macros or calorie level week 1. The first 4 weeks are about habit building, are about learning how to plan and execute, or about learning about your portion sizes, about learning how to incorporate single ingredient whole foods and vegetables and fruits in your diet before we ever hit a macro, before I even know what their calorie goals should be. Like, that's what we're working on first. So you don't necessarily have to start out tracking all of your food. And this is something that I see time and time again where people are like, well, I've been tracking my food, and you start week 1 and you're trying to like track every single bite. You're trying to work out with 10,000 steps a day. you're going to the gym every day, and it's just too many things. Like even in my program, we don't start out that way. So if you're doing this alone, that just seems like super overwhelming. It seems like too much to do. And then when you're not doing it and you're having this restrict binge cycle and you end up falling off, and then you get on the scale and you see that number and you don't like the number on the scale and you feel like you're doing something. And it's just like this whole spiral, right? So take some time away from the scale. If the scale really bothers you, put the scale away. Start noticing your energy. Again, this is like you tuning into you. Start learning like what foods make me feel more energized. What time of day do I normally get hungry? And how can I place a meal or a snack during that time? How can I learn how to go to bed on time and stop scrolling on TikTok so that I can get up early enough for my workout? Can you just focus on that? Focus on you. Focus on the feeling first. Focus on your own body's feedback first, right? And then once you feel solid with some habits that you have been practicing for a few weeks, then maybe you can get into more strategy. But think about having a relationship with yourself where you're executing some things and then you ask yourself, well, how did that make me feel? What could be better? Okay, let me try shifting this X, Y, Z, and then getting that feedback, right? So it's a give and take. You really are like listening and tuning into your own body. And this is why journaling is so important. So if you're going to do it that way, I would highly recommend like getting a journal and asking yourself, okay, how did I feel today? I really want to build a Fit Figure Formula journal to help you guys with this too. But how did I feel today? What went well? When I overate that pizza, like what was I feeling at the time? How can I avoid doing that in the future, right? Like how can I build my confidence? What makes me feel most in alignment with me? All of that is building your relationship with yourself, which is going to transform your relationship with food and fitness. So number 7, focus on joy and satisfaction. So here's the secret. Satisfaction is part of health. So if all of your meals are plain, bland, boring, and things that you actually don't like to eat, you're probably going to crave a lot of the things that don't serve your goals. But if you actually add in foods that you enjoy and then balance it with some treats in between, it kind of prevents your binge restrict cycle and it helps you to feel more at peace around food. So think about your weight loss journey and think about it being joyful, satisfying. Think about feeling accomplished, proud. Think about starting small so you're not giving yourself too many things to do in one week and seeing yourself execute those small habits week after week and then maybe adding 1 or 2 things and then executing that for week after week. And you're building this slow relationship with yourself. Some of us just have never taken the time to build a relationship with ourselves. And maybe we're not looking at our weight loss journey as joyful or satisfying. We also have to stop looking at it as a timeline, like doing it for 6 weeks or until my birthday. Like, I want you to adopt this as a way of taking care of yourself, as a way of loving yourself, joyful, satisfying for the rest of your life. There's no end date to this, right? So making sure that you're following the joy, you're creating the joy. The joy and the satisfaction comes from you by the way you're thinking and by the choices that you are making. Number 8, practicing self-compassion. So healing your relationship with food and fitness is going to take time. There is going to be moments where you're going to slip back into old patterns, but that does not mean that you are failing. It means that you're human. And that is the opportunity to practice self-compassion. Because if you were perfect all the time, you really wouldn't need self-compassion. Self-compassion is for the times when you have made a mistake or you have overeaten or you see yourself slipping back into your 1.0 self and you're like, whoa, I'm really off track here. Let me see, what do I need to do when I'm checking in with myself? What do I need to do to fix that, right? Each choice is just another chance to practice. Each choice is just another chance to progress, right? We need progress, not perfection. And so if you're holding yourself to perfection, you're automatically not practicing self-compassion. So what I help my clients do inside the formula is we build slowly over the first few weeks, we build a system. And I teach them, okay, here is what it's going to look like. Here's what the framework is. And then we start practicing that over and over again. And when you get off track, that's okay. We're not trying to never be off track. But when you get off track, isn't it so much easier to be able to just come back to a system instead of trying to, like, quote unquote, start all over again? When you feel like you have to start all over again, it just feels heavy. It feels like you're pushing a boulder uphill instead of just like, oh, jumping back on to a system that worked. And having that system on paper is really helpful. So making sure that you know, when do I grocery shop? When do I prep my meals? When do I plan for my meals? When do I check in with myself? What times am I typically supposed to be eating? What days are my workout days? What days are my walk days, right? Like, having that mapped out on a calendar is so much easier. So then when you get off track, you can just be like, okay, what's today? It's Tuesday. Let me start from today. Tuesday, I'm supposed to take my walk and I'm planning my meals, right? So you can just jump back on. It's kind of like, I think of it like double dutch, right? Like you're going and you're doing well in the double dutch. And then for some reason you walk off and, the double dutch ropes are still going and you got distracted. You're off doing Lord knows what. And then you're like, oh yeah, you know what? I got to get back to my fitness journey. And of course we want to do this sooner rather than later. And that's why I'm helping my clients catch their own self-sabotage. But as you're jumping back into it, you are jumping back onto a system where you had already made decisions and you already have a foundation. It's just so much easier to just like restart or jump back in. It's so much easier to jump back in to a system that you already built, that you already know works for yourself, versus feeling like you're starting over from scratch. So if any of this resonated with you, I want you to take one step today. I want you to head to the show notes and apply to work with me. I would love to be in your back pocket for the next 16 weeks over the holiday season. So if you're joining now, I'm going to walk you through this holiday season into 2026, and you're already going to be down a few pounds. You're already going to be feeling better. You don't have to wait until January 1st. Right? So with every decision, again, you get to decide who you want to be. You get to decide if you're operating out of your highest and best self, and do not let fear keep you from applying. Like, fear actually can't keep you from applying. You're just deciding not to, right? If you've been listening and you're like, man, I really need to do that, but I'm not really sure. You can always just book a call, right? Like, you can do that. You can book a call, get on the call. This is a no pressure call with me to see if it's a good fit for us to work together. And I will help you see exactly what it is that you need on this call. And we can decide whether or not that's joining the Fit Figure formula or not, right? So make sure that whenever you're on a weight loss journey, you're not just doing a program. This is not about doing a program. This is about showing up for yourself. This is about healing your relationship with food and fitness. This is about healing your relationship with yourself. It's about not being perfect. It's about getting imperfect progress. It's about creating freedom and balance and trust with yourself. And that's going to transform your entire life. So if you want help putting all of this into practice in a step-by-step fashion that is not overwhelming, this is exactly what I do inside of the Fit Figure formula. So check out the show notes if you are ready to get started. And remember that ready is not a feeling. Ready is just a decision. You can literally open up your phone, go to the show notes, click the link to apply. Like, you literally can do that even if you feel a little bit hesitant. Don't let that hesitation keep you from applying to the formula. I'm so ready to help you. And if you have been listening and you have been enjoying this, you probably would love being inside the formula. Like, everything that I'm teaching you and telling you about on the podcast, I walk you through in implementation, because that's really the transformation, is the implementation of all of these steps. And you're going to love being inside the Fit Figure formula. So I can't wait to see your application come through. If this was helpful today, share this podcast to your social media or in the group chat, and I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Fit Figure Formula podcast. If you're new here and you're struggling with your fitness journey, I invite you to take a super simple next step. Click the link in the show notes for a free training. If listening to this podcast has been helpful, imagine being inside the Formula Coaching Program. You can apply for coaching with the link in the show notes. I hope to see you inside.